a favor, turn your cameras off real quick, guys. Mike, I picked a couple news items to look at, mainly related to looting and stolen cars.
Okay.
Because we're going to obviously have to address the white elephant in the room.
Yeah, it's a good topic, especially with social and what our image should be. I made a post and I took it down,
Oh, you did?
but I had second thoughts about it. And I think I was pretty sterile in the comments, but
Can we talk about that?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't give you guys the live stream. Load the live stream on your end if you could. I'll send you the URL. Copy live stream and chat. Give me some chat here. There you go. See, Michael Kohler's already popped up. Hello, Michael Kohler. Michael was on our Cars on the Move roundtable just last night, was it? Yeah, it was last night. So let me get the recording. Okay, we're gonna take this. Going to get this show rolling. Hey, everybody, we are here. Welcome to today's Social Selling in Auto Retail. This is one of 6 different webcast panel programs that we conduct here on Auto Conversion under the Auto Retail Marketing webcast series. We hold these every Tuesday at 3 o'clock Central. I am Ryan Girardi, and today is Tuesday, June 2nd. Thank you for joining us. On today's session, our main focus is going to be on should your political opinions be injected into your social media presence. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. And I have with us, I'm going to bring them on screen, I have Terry Lancaster and I have Mike Columbus. Hello, hello, my friends.
What up, everybody?
Hello, everyone.
Hey. So Mike is a Honda sales pro. He's a regular here. He's our official dealer advisor to the Social Selling and Auto Retail. And Terry tuned in from Nashville. Great place to be. How is Nashville, Terry? I'm curious with all this ruckus going on.
Oh, we had a pretty big deal going on this weekend. We had they set the courthouse in Nashville was set on fire Sunday. And so we had some protests and disturbances going on Sunday night. The actual city itself, I live in the suburbs outside of town, but the city itself was had early curfews Sunday night and last night too. So no one was injured. My brother-in-law is a Nashville cop. No one was injured, but he's been on call and working down there as an extra physical presence while all this has been going on. But we had we had no one's injured, but we had 30 arrests over the weekend, and the courthouse was set on fire.
30 arrests. Try to find out of those arrests how many are from Nashville or even Tennessee.
25.
Really? So most of them were.
Yeah.
Because like in Minneapolis, that was not the case.
And well, if you'll go back, the governor of Minnesota retracted his statements.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he retracted those. He retracted his statements because he originally said that none of the people arrested were from Minnesota,
Right.
and he was 100% incorrect. They were mostly all from Minnesota. And he came back on and announced yesterday that he just had a blind spot, that he couldn't imagine the people of Minnesota doing the things that were happening, but in fact they were. So that statement has been retracted.
Well, that's important, and I'm glad. I didn't know it was retracted, but I think that's important to know because, I did see a video of two protesters, African American protesters, who were videotaping two vandals.
Yeah.
And the vandals were white.
Right.
And they were spray painting, Black Lives Matter, and the protesters were like, "What are you guys doing? Like, we're not here to vandalize. We're here to protest peacefully, and you're going to get us in trouble." And it was good. It's disturbing.
I think that's a much more important part of all this than a lot of people are talking about. Actually, there was there was a big thing on Facebook in Nashville that one of the guys who there's video of this guy setting fire to the courthouse. He was leaned in a window with a torch or with match or something, setting fire. And his white kid from Nashville. But he was not, he wasn't one of the, he wasn't African American, but definitely a white kid, and he did not look like a young socially aware college student. Let's just say that he looked like he was there to cause trouble, and he did.
Well, there's a lot of that hijacking going on, and if anyone who keeps up, with my programming and the podcast, for me, understanding those details and those nuances are really key because we have to understand the motivations. Mike, how about on your side? I forget, you're not, are you in Seattle Metro or no?
No, I'm outside of Seattle,
Okay,
in Bremerton, Washington, a military town.
Okay. What size town?
It's a military town of about 25,000.
Okay. All right. So small town, but not like rinky dink. Yeah.
Right.
Now, are there any protests peaceful? Any hijack protests going on?
Yeah, there were protests in Bremerton and some other surrounding towns, but nothing violent, no looting.
Okay, good.
Now, Tacoma's not too far from me. Tacoma and Seattle had some problems.
Yeah. Yeah. The larger you get, the more. I mean, I'm in Naperville, which is about 150,000. We're about an hour due west of Chicago, and we're adjacent to Aurora, which is about 250,000. There's about 500,000 people within a 10-mile radius of where I am. Unfortunately, downtown Naperville got looted and vandalized. I think either last night or the night before. It was sad to see that. Well, listen, just to the recap. So we'll keep this to about 30 or 40 minutes. Our focus today is, this is really geared for those in the automotive sales profession. Not that it's limited or restricted to that. But if you're on the live stream, like Michael Kohler is, thanks for saying hi, Michael. I saw you said you've never been called a racist more than you have on social media over the last few days. I had an interesting messages sent to me recently. I'm curious, Terry, if what prompted your idea for the title had anything to do with some of my tweets over the last few days, if that prompted it at all.
No, actually, I rarely read tweets unless I'm not on Twitter too awful much. I post on Twitter, but Twitter's not in my normal on my radar too normally. So I didn't see what you tweeted. What did you talk about?
Well, I just happened to share and respond to some things that I felt were important, pieces of information relevant to social awareness, Yeah. But it did come with some response. I had people respond to me. Here's what I found interesting. I had people respond to me over more politically, to more current event related stuff, who have never engaged with me or responded to me about, the industry and the profession and whatnot,
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. I'm like, we've, no engagement on something that I've been doing for 10 years, but
you don't know me like that.
Yeah. So I found that bizarre. So we're going to talk about that and share some different examples around that. But a couple of news items, there's some looting going on, unfortunately. I'm going to play a video here. It's a little bit, it's not fun to watch. I'm not going to play the sound on this. But what you're going to see here are looters breaking into a Mercedes-Benz dealership in Oakland. And I think, is it customary, Mike, to leave the keys in the car in the showroom?
No, but
'Cause
isn't that a Honda dealership? And isn't that a HRV coming out of there?
it is a Honda coming out of there. I thought it was a Mercedes-Benz dealership. Busted right through the wall and drove off. I think that's a Honda.
It
Yeah,
is.
it is. And I mean,
That's the video I posted and then took it down.
this is the one you took down. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is on, oh, it's Honda dealership. I thought I saw it said Mercedes-Benz up there. So why did you take it down?
Well, let me just back up to how I posted and the thought that went into it. I have not posted anything political or any commentary regarding what's going on in regard to rioting and looting. It was a Honda store. I'm known as the Seattle Honda Pro. Everyone knows that I love Honda. And I just said that this was gut-wrenching to see happen to a Honda dealership. And I had it up for 2 hours, probably. The first comments were very supportive, but then a comment was made that it was done because of George Floyd. And then when I dug into the person who made the comment, it didn't seem like a comment that it seemed like someone making a benign comment, an apparent benign comment to start creating controversy. And I, at that point, took it down because I didn't want to get into any controversy about it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the reason for the post.
What was your initial thinking and motivation when posting it?
Sympathy toward other dealerships and what they may be going through who are in urban areas and suffering from the looting. And that's basically what the comments started to be. But then I could see it was going to turn into a situation that I was uncomfortable with as regard to my social presence. And I took it down.
Interesting, it took it down. I mean, I could see that. Terry, when I saw your question, right, should your politics be inserted? And knowing that that was gonna be for today, my initial gut reaction is if I'm selling cars, when it comes to social media, I want to steer really clear of polarized topics.
Yeah.
That's my first thought.
And so the other thing I did when I emailed you yesterday, I said, let's talk about this. So I emailed you, let's talk about this. And I simultaneously posed the question in a group that I'm in for automotive salespeople. It's got about 9,000 automotive salespeople, mostly high performers, or at least people who are interested in becoming high performers, that said, how much of your personal political opinion should be on your social media, and even further, how much should you be talking about it with your customers? So it's a two-part question on social media and in real life when you're talking to your customers. How much of your personal political opinion should you get into? And so I posed the question at the same time. I emailed that to you early yesterday morning, and there were about 30 responses on there, and almost universally they all agreed with exactly what you said, that you shouldn't, that you should kind of steer clear of anything that's going to cause controversy. You're going to alienate half of your customers. Any opinion you're going to have, half the population is going to disagree with you. And that's what Mike was saying, that he doesn't want, he wanted to steer clear of the controversy on that. But the amazing thing is I'm connected with so many automotive salespeople who are just blasting on Facebook about this thing and that thing and the other thing, and wailing on their opinions and insulting people who disagree with them, and people who are in the automotive industry. So I see so much of it that I was curious as to how how other people believe. But like I said, I had 20 or 30 responses to this question in this group, and almost to a one, they said they steer clear of it, with a couple of exceptions that said 99% of the time I steer clear of it. But if there's something, if it's something I feel super strongly about, I decided to take a stand or to make a statement about it this week. But universally, they try to stay clear of it and keep their personal opinions out of their for the chance of alienating customers.
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic. I mean, I know my intention for me personally sharing on. So I have a Twitter profile that I don't use for business, right? I don't use it for business. I follow things that are just personally, and it could be political in nature. It could be sports. It could be politics. It could be things that it's just for me, right? Just so I have a place to go with information that I've curated for me and has nothing to do with my business. When it comes to social conscience, if you will, then it's kind of like, now I started using my professional Twitter to get into to share information that I felt needed to be heard. That's educational and informative. And what I found pretty right away is that there's a political slant or sentiment to just about everything.
Yeah.
And if people didn't like that political angle, if it wasn't in their camp, then it was like, then the response was, well, I don't even know if I can, associate with you anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I'm like, well, come on, that's a little extreme. That said, there was a tweet. And as you can imagine, you see some crazy stuff on Twitter, and it basically said Joe Biden could punch Donald Jr. in the face, spit on him, and piss down his throat, and I'd still vote for him. And somebody I know had, Twitter shows who likes posts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody I know had hit like, and I just thought, wow, like, it's up there, but to endorse that, right? That changes everything I would think about. Not so much about that person's integrity, but about their willingness and desire to stamp themselves and associate themselves to such a vile piece of information. That to me just is extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's danger in that.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone's got opinions, and one thing that I found interesting about what you were saying is that you have a separate profile, which is one of the things that people talked about is, well, I keep a personal profile and I keep a professional profile, and some folks do that. And you said you did it for curating information, so you want to affect what you see, so you have one. But in terms of disseminating information, I always advise people against having separate profiles, because a lot of people want to have a professional Facebook profile and a personal. That's one of the things said. Well, I want to have a personal profile and a professional profile because I don't want my customers to see they might see my personal political opinions, or I might say something on my personal profile that offends one of my customers. And number one, that's against the rules. I don't know about Twitter specifically, but it's definitely against the rules on Facebook to have two personal profiles, and you could end up losing both accounts because you're in violation of their terms of agreement by having two. There's only supposed to be one you, because there's only one Terry, and I try to be Terry all day, every day, and I don't want to present a slick image for business and then a less slick image where I'm personal and fun loving. I want to be the same person all day long to everybody. And when I was in the dealership yesterday training the salespeople, one of them was talking about keeping these separate things separate, and I said, listen. Most people who I talk to, who they want to have separate profiles, what they're really, really, really asking for is permission to be an asshole. Listen, I want to be able to talk about car sales and keep it professional and slick, but on my personal page, I want to be obnoxious. And my advice to him was, the same thing. If you go to my Facebook now, the very top profile on there, it says across the top, always be yourself, unless you suck. So if these most people who, again, not in terms of curation, but in terms of the information that the image that they're trying to put out, they want to put out two separate images. They want permission to be a little more obnoxious in real life.
This is a really good talking point, because there's some proper protocols around this, and then there's what you said. There's the why you're doing it. Now, I want to respond. Michael on the live chat says he has a Facebook page for his business and a profile for him personally, which is exactly the right protocol. You can set up a business page. You can set up a personality page. I think that's what you have, Terry. Right?
Well, no, I have a personal profile. Which is
Facebook.
For Facebook, and then I have a personal, then I have a Facebook business page. But those are really two separate things, and the business page is super limited in terms of who you can reach and how many people you can reach. The entire purpose of a Facebook business page is to allow you access to the Facebook ad manager.
Ads.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. A Facebook business page is so you can buy advertising. You can't reach out and make friends with your Facebook business page. You can't. I mean, and the reach is so much lower than a personal profile. So they're completely separate things. And I do have both, but they're not. I'm talking about setting up two personal pages as me for business and me for personal stuff.
And Mike Columbus, as a sales professional, what is your strategy? Let's keep the focus on Facebook. I want to go back to Twitter, but what's your strategy with profiles and all that with Facebook?
Same as Terry. I think I'm pretty huge with Facebook. I have 5,000 friends. But I think you need to be genuine, as Terry said. And if you're trying to be a fake, customers are going to see through that. Customers are going to see, they're going to find you. You can't hide. And if you're posting dumb stuff, it's going to come back to bite you. But if you're in this for the long haul, I think you need to make sure your image is exactly where it should be, non-controversial. Now, I will say, going back earlier, if customers want to come in and vent their views, I do let them vent. I try to stay neutral. I don't get involved in it. But if they want to ramble on, I'll usually let them ramble on.
I want to clarify. So, and you caught me when I said this, Terry. I have the Twitter, the personal Twitter handle, not for getting any message out. It's so that I have a place I can get a feed of stuff that is like put work aside.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't want to think about work. I have it just so I have a place to get some information. It's not for relationships. It's literally like a news feed.
Right.
And that's why I have that. And when I find something in there that I feel like, oh, I want to engage with this, typically what I do is I either like it or I direct message my other business handle on that, right? So I get it. And then I use my business account, which at that point I am using for PR and networking purposes. I am saying, you know, I disagree with this message and here's why, or I approve this message and here's why. And I'm fine not getting into political snafus with people, but I'm fine, you know, basically saying, hey, look, this is where I stand as an American. And, you know, I'm not out to have a polarized, you know, go at it. You know, I'm not out for that. That's not the etiquette that I'm out for.
Well, the thing is, I try to remember two things, and we talked about this the last time I was on the show a couple of weeks ago with Jay. I always try to remember that I might be wrong. Whatever my opinion is, there's a good chance I might be wrong. Number two, there's a good chance that nobody gives a flying hoot what Terry thinks. My opinion is so far down the roll of what anybody thinks that it's for especially for a controversial topic. My opinion is I'm not going to change anybody's mind. If I'm not going to change anybody's mind, and I might be wrong, and it's going to come back to bite me in the butt, why on the earth do I want to talk about it?
I would say, Mike, I'd love your opinion on this. When you're in the business of selling cars, right? You would probably like as many people as possible in your area to like your page, follow you on Twitter, right? That's a good thing for you. Sharing political sentiment There can have some unintended consequences, but the reward can be people like, I like this guy, I'm going to follow him, and when I'm ready to buy a car, I'm going to talk to him. So, is it, are you take an absolute stance no, or is it maybe like you did, you might do something and then maybe, it's you're discerning individual scenarios?
No, I take an absolute line on it. I don't get involved. Interestingly, I'm in a networking group here, and two members of my group, one was for Open Washington, and the other was on the other side of the fence. And I could see the escalation of the Facebook post just beginning, and it drowns out what business they're in. One is an attorney and one is a chiropractor. And with all the opinions and the divisiveness of the opinions, you're not thinking chiropractor, you're not thinking attorney, or you're not thinking a car guy. I think you're thinking of the issue at hand.
Yeah. You're thinking of yourself and the issue and where you stand with it.
Right.
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point. You're thinking of yourself and using the event, using the information to attract people, but for your sake, not for theirs. What do you think, Terry?
Well, you're like I said, it takes the focus off what it needs to be on, and the entire Facebook is. I tell everyone Facebook is going to be online is where first opinions happen in the 21st century. That's where first opinions happen, and it's where constant and we're forming this idea in people's heads of who we are. And if you're constantly talking about open Washington or closed Washington or for Donald Trump or against Donald Trump or for Joe Biden, if that's the message that you're constantly putting out, that's going to be the seed that you're planting in people's brain. And if that's the seed that you're planting in people's brain, and that's the seed that you're watering in people's brain, then you're not growing the seed that, hey, I'm Mike Columbus, I'm your friend in the car business, I'm here for all your, to help you purchase a Honda. And that's the seed that I tell people how to water on Facebook. That's the seed we want to grow. That's the plant we want to tend to. And if you're nurturing the wrong plant, you're going to grow the wrong kind of flower. And so you pay attention to where you're putting your water, buddy.
Which kind of begs the argument: is having social media, is it even good or healthy from a political standpoint? I mean, sex, religion, and politics are the three things you typically socially don't get into with when you're out with friends, at the barbecue, right, at work. Those are the three things that conventionally you stay away from. Now we have a platform. I equate social media, it's like road rage.
Yeah.
Right? People behind the wheel in their car say and do things they would never do in person. Social media has created the same little safety bubble. And that begs the question, is this part of the problem?
Well, that's a moot point because it's here, baby, and it ain't going away.
It ain't going away. That's very true. You're such a realist.
Yeah, and so whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. But I mean, look at the change that happened in the Middle East, because of Facebook, so because of social media. So it's a powerful agent for change. Like I said, the question is, and I believe social media is the most powerful thing in our world right now, in terms of political change and in terms of personal and professional growth. The question is, are you using social media to affect political change, or are you using social media to affect business growth? And you need to decide which one of those trees you're on, and work on that. I think it's powerful for either one, but I don't think you can ride both horses.
I'm going to write that. Are you using social media for political change or for business growth, right?
Yeah.
Right. You have to define that and stick with that.
Hey, Ryan, if I could speak to that for a minute.
Yeah.
our ownership here was quite sensitive about what we were posting on Facebook, especially during the shutdown, because we were being watched and people were looking for us to make the wrong move. So when we finally were able to be opened, I asked to make a post on Facebook, and I was given permission as long as all I said was, we are open for business. And it got engagement, and it was good, but you have to be so careful about how far you go with making a statement.
Just to clarify, you're saying that your dealer said you can post as long as all you're saying is that you're open for business?
No. It was this one particular, they wanted to make sure whatever I was posting was appropriate and in line with what they wanted out into the public. And so I was off of social media for a while, not posting anything. And then finally, when the store opened, I asked permission to make a post. And I was given permission as long as all I said with the photograph was, we are open for business.
Gotcha.
So, and it speaks to, you can make a point on a political side or a controversial side, or you can make it a neutral comment. And I think that's what we have to be careful that we do with regard to social media.
So, okay, let's get into some granular here. From a dealership, the company level, let's start there. Should a dealer stand behind something like the George Floyd situation and say, in solidarity to George Floyd and police brutality, or should a dealership just not go there as a dealer, not as an individual?
Well, to me, I don't think so. And the same reason everyone says the Hollywood stars should stick to making movies instead of standing up. And Hollywood stars are a little different, but a business is in business to do business. And I try to keep everything that I do positive. I try to keep everything that I do uplifting, motivational, and encouraging. And that's the aura that I try to be. And I don't see from any business's standpoint what that does other than alienate at least a large segment of the population who disagrees.
But I mean, it's very common for a dealership to post, Memorial Day, Easter, Christmas, the holidays.
Right.
And, nowadays, like if you say Merry Christmas, you can offend people because, so you have to, it's like, you could say Happy Holidays but then that people are like,
people.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you say Merry Christmas? Well, it's, it's like, damned if I do, damned if I don't.
Yeah.
So your take is dealerships should stay away even from getting into social matters at whatsoever. Mike, what do you think? Do you agree?
I agree 100%.
Okay. And as an individual representing the dealer, same deal, stay away?
Yes, and work in harmony with what the image that the dealership wants out there.
And then I guess, Terry, your take is don't set up a separate personal profile to be an asshole somewhere else.
Yeah, be yourself 24/7. Just be a better you. And you don't have to share every opinion that pops into your head. You don't have to share every thought that pops into your head. Just like you said, road rage. And Ryan, you and I talk so much about meditation, and meditation helps so much with this because road rage. If you have the ability to take a beat, to take a deep breath and let it go. On Facebook and social media, you have the same thing. If someone says something that irritates you, and you have something that you're so inflamed about, you have to get out there. If you have the ability to let that thought pass, almost always it's going to be better. Just to let that thought bubble up and go away and go out and drift wherever it wants to go. You don't have to share every thought that pops into your head.
And I'm going to go back to what the distinction you made. Are you using social media for, political change or using it for growth? Because responding to people, especially in an emotional state, in a polarized state, literally accomplishes nothing but fuels the fire. Whereas taking a step back and producing quality information, quality in the sense of putting your presentation, putting your position in presentation, that can be influential. It can be, at least it's articulated, if you will, versus just responding emotion. So
I think intentional is the proper word. Be intentional and know what you are trying to accomplish and what your purposes are, and act with the intention of furthering those purposes.
And Mike C on the live chat, he says he's had people report him for disagreeing with him, and has even had his Facebook halted for over a week, which my thinking, Mike C, although not Mike Columbus, Mike Kohler on the live chat is, yeah, if you're posting stuff that's putting you in a political ideology camp, then it's going to cause backlash. People are going to respond. They can't help themselves. All the more reason you shouldn't do it professionally, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, I think we've hashed that out. So our protocol here is, here's the takeaways. Takeaways are: stay away from stigmatic, polarized subjects on social media as a professional. Stay away from them. And don't set up separate profiles so that you can have that alter ego. Just be who you are in one place, and stay away from issues that you don't need to get into, because it's not going to serve a purpose. That's why. So now the person says, well, I have opinions and political views, and I should be allowed to express them. What do you say to that, Terry?
You are allowed to. As 100%, you have the capability to. So if you decide that this is important enough to you, and you are now not a car salesperson, you're a political activist, then go be a political activist and post and share and create content and do the things with the intention of doing that. But you can't do both. Pick one.
Agree, Mike?
I agree.
No way to be both. You cannot be political activist and car salesman.
No.
I mean, I almost want to say you could.
You can. Well,
you could.
You
but
can.
You have your clientele would be all that.
Right.
You're basically going to divide your clientele in half.
100%. If you want to stick to your market, and that's the people you want to deal with, then go all in. There's lots of people who have made niche marketing a great way to go, but most car sales people don't really have that option.
Yeah.
But if you can go all in, and you're only creating things and only selling to that market, then go all in.
I like that idea. Kind of carve out a niche, the politically focused salesman.
Some folks
I don't think the dealer principals would take too kindly to it either.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That is a good point too. All right, let's switch topics here. Used car e-commerce company Vroom of all companies gets no, it's not a $20 billion deal. Let me get the hold on. I screwed up. I totally screwed this up. My bad. I got to get the right news bit in front of me. Yeah. So Vroom files for IPO. You guys know Vroom, right?
Sure.
Right? Would you classify them as like in the league as Carvana?
Carvana-esque, yeah.
Carvana-esque. Sure. All right. So filed for its initial IPO. This was mid-May, seeking to list on NASDAQ under the ticket VRM. The New York e-commerce company lets people buy and sell used vehicles. They reported first quarter net loss of $27.1 million, narrowing from $41.1 million in the same period a year ago. Vroom's revenue rose from rose to 375.8 from 235 from a year ago. So what are your thoughts on that? This comes up with Carvana a lot. Is it an unfair advantage to be able to lose money to that extent while still gaining market share? Mike? Does that have any bearing on you?
No, I think it's part of business. You have to, there's going to be some losses in the beginning. I think it needs to be watched very closely. I think more of these companies are going to pop up, and it's going to have an impact on dealerships who are selling retail from a storefront.
What I tell everyone is Carvana specifically and Vroom now, I'm sure they are not in the business of selling cars. That's not how they make their money. They're in the business of selling stock. That's how the people who own and operate Carvana. So they're selling a story about how they're changing the car business, and because they can do anything better than any car dealer, and they're not doing anything that any car dealership couldn't do in the world. They've got a better narrative. They've got a narrative that they've been able to sell to some stock investors, and they're in the business of selling stocks. So it's not an unfair advantage. They're playing a different game.
I'm writing that down. Selling stock. I'm curious. Buy a car entirely online, have it safely delivered. I almost wonder if dealers should just have the same message at this point.
We do.
And many do.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah.
I was talking to our people. The next thing we're going to start doing is delivering them on a flatbed.
On a flatbed?
Yeah.
Yeah. And would it be like, 5 trucks or 5 cars on a flatbed, and then you drop one off another, or it would be one by one? Because Carvana is a single car at a time.
I don't know what our plan is. I'd like to see a single car delivered because it's the single experience that you're trying to make with a customer.
Yeah, it would almost need to be. You couldn't have an 18-wheeler going in neighborhoods with 5 or 6 cars. That's just hard to
Not
into people's
that
driveways.
large. I was thinking more like, some hold like 3 cars, versus 1. But Mike, I think you're coming from the idea that having maybe the person having that sales rep be a part of that delivery experience is a good thing.
Oh yeah, I delivered last week. Customer wanted the car delivered at home. We did the financing at their home. They liked that experience.
Mm-hmm. So you personally delivered it? Did you drive it there, or
I drove it there? Yes.
Okay, and how'd you get back?
No, I drove it there.
Uber?
The finance manager.
Okay.
No,
so
the finance
carpool.
manager came out in his car.
Yeah. Next week,
If
go ahead.
If there's a trade, we'll just take the trade back.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it easier.
Okay.
But my point was customers seem to like the home delivery service.
Yeah, that's gonna continue to grow.
I think so.
I don't think there's a lot of argument there. I think most would agree to that.
We're thinking of a complete click and drive department in our dealership, which that department would handle everything from the calls that come in, the financing, the delivery, the whole process. One department.
Click and drive department. Here's something to think about. You don't click on a smartphone. You press. Ever think about that? When I do, because I do a lot of web stuff, I try not to use the word click. I always say, go here.
Yeah.
Because you're not really clicking anymore. Interesting.
Unless you have your click sound turned on.
Yeah. Although when I look at web analytics, even on LinkedIn, my website, still the majority of traffic that I see is on desktop. It's about 35, 65 mobile to desktop.
Interesting.
But that could be the nature of the content too. Who knows? All right, everybody. Mike Columbus, Terry Lancaster. Guys, any final thoughts, or we kind of covered it?
Hey, so in terms of social media, you want to avoid controversy, but the thing I don't want to ever stop doing is spreading the love. Just spread the love, spread positivity, spread kindness. Be nice, be kind, be gentle, be human. Spread the love.
Spread the love. I love some of your memes that you have, man.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one you have? Be yourself. Unless you suck.
Always be yourself unless you suck. That's what it says at the top of my Facebook page.
Mike, any final words?
Yeah, I think the pandemic has changed the automotive industry. I think we're still going to evolve and grow, but I think 2020 is the year we're going to see major changes in our industry.
Might not see it till 2021, really.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, this year is half over, which is crazy. And it's like we haven't even gotten to have a year.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nuts. It's nuts. All right,
I'd be
guys.
interested in hearing how it's going in other showrooms. I know my showroom has changed. The spirit's changed. The atmosphere's changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think trainers have to adapt. I think that there needs to be a whole different curriculum now for trainers.
Do you have concrete ideas about what that training should look like? Or is that because it has to be invented?
Yeah, I think customers now more than ever need to be heard, especially training in how to let a customer vent their political views and not get involved in the mix and the fray of it all ourselves. It takes a skill and it takes a lot of determination not to get caught up in it, but allow the customer to express what they need and then get on to the business at hand. But that's kind of like social, psychological training too.
Yeah. Yeah, but empathizing. I think what I'm hearing you say is being effective at empathizing with the person, but at the same time not getting maybe absorbed into it in the process.
Right. And then being adaptable. Here in Washington, we have to keep a COVID-19 contact list. And I had a customer that came in last week and refused to sign it. And of course, if they refuse to sign it, then we can't help them. And essentially, she left very upset that we couldn't help her. But then our brain started thinking, well, how can we turn this into a positive? And it's like, well, why don't we go back to the click and drive? And why don't we just go to the gas station down the street and talk to her down the street? And so being ready for these workarounds, I think we need to work on.
What is a COVID-19 contact list?
Well, here in Washington, to be open, we have to maintain a list of everyone we've come in contact with. So when a customer comes into the store, they have to sign their name, email address, and cell phone number before we're permitted to talk to them.
Gotcha.
So some people don't want their names on a contact list like that, even though it's non-automotive. They just want to keep their privacy.
Now that is a requirement by the state?
Yes.
Does that apply to all retail?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of controversy here in Washington right now.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty controversial. I mean, one of the arguments against e-commerce, especially, researching cars online, has been, I don't want to give up my name and my contact info to get some information about a car. I mean, that's been a growing reality. And the analogy was always, I don't have to give my name and number when I walk into a store.
Right. Yeah. So those are the type of issues that we need training on.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's do this. Folks, we do this. We have these discussions weekly, every Tuesday at 3. This is one of 6 different programs within the mastermind program for auto retail marketing. You can go to autoconversion.net, look under masterminds, and you'll see all 6. And so what that means is this one, social selling, is every 6 weeks. So if you register, it's a one-time registration. You can be in the loop. We'll send you notifications. You can even join us on Zoom. If you have things you want us to talk about, you can even come on and be part of the discussions. So use this. This one is geared towards automotive sales professionals. Mike Columbus is a Honda sales professional out in the state of Washington, as you saw. Terry does training. You can go to terrylancaster.com and learn about his training for salespeople, and has lots of neat programs. And then also you'll see on here, we also launched a new webinar roundtable called Cars on the Move. And this one's geared right now towards those in the used car business. We'll be connecting dealers, auctions, and car shippers. But as that fills up, we'll be rolling out some others as well. Welcome to give it a try. It's the first Monday of every month. We just had our first one yesterday. It went pretty well. And shouts out to Mike Kohler, who's on the live chat here. He was on the webinar yesterday himself as well. These are recorded and then they're featured. Oh, here's some good news. We normally feature these on the AutoConverse podcast, but I actually am happy to announce we're going to be releasing these on the Dealer Talk podcast. In fact, look here, tomorrow I got Tiffany Simonson and Herb Anderson lined up for another 2-minute drill down. Terry's been on the 2-minute drill down, I think 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And you can go to autoconverse.com and you can see all the stuff we have lined up for tomorrow. But Herb is the host of the Dealer Talk podcast. So these sessions are going to start being featured on the Dealer Talk podcast with myself and Herb. So if you're not subscribed to AutoConverse, get subscribed there, and go ahead and get subscribed to the Dealer Talk podcast as well. And check out what we have lined up for tomorrow on the Mobility Tech and Connectivity Show. And then next week on Tuesday, we'll be back here with Fixed Stops. I have Jeff Infeld coming on from Quick Ride, and we'll be looking at shared mobility and mobility as a service within the Fixed Ops department. I'm Ryan Girardi. Terry, Mike, thanks again. You can go ahead and shut off cameras, and I'll take us offline. Take care, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow and next week as well.